Hello and good morning everyone. My name is Asia. I am the creator behind Made to Tingle. Today is our first video on a new series that I am calling Crime and Crochet. I will be crocheting my projects on camera while talking to y'all about some true crime stories. So let's get started. Today on Crime and Crochet, we are going to be discussing a crime story that I personally know quite a bit about because it happened literally near my backyard. So in Albuquerque, New Mexico in 2009, a woman was walking along in West Mesa and found a human bone. She reported it to the Albuquerque Police Department, and they did an investigation where they discovered the remains of 11 females between the ages of 15 and 32. After ID, APD was able to check the background of the women, and it was discovered that most were Hispanic. One was an African American runaway who was the only female from out of state, and one female was 4 months pregnant at the time of her death. Most of the women were involved with drugs and the adult entertainment industry. They all disappeared between the years 2001 and 2005. The remains of all of the women were found in a West Mesa Arroyo bank, undeveloped land at the time, and within Albuquerque city limits. Satellite photos that were taken between 2003 and 2005 do show that patches of dirt and tire marks where the remains would be found later. Albuquerque was slowly expanding more west as there was a lot of open space and it was just kind of perfect for residential development. Unfortunately, it was also the perfect place for a monster to bury his victims. This person became known as the West Mesa Bone Collector. There were no official suspects named in the West Mesa murders, but that did not mean that the police and FBI did not have any leads. They had several, in fact. There was a pimp, Fred Reynolds, who worked on Central. He had photos of missing workers and knew one of the women who was found. He passed of natural causes in 2009. There was also Lorenzo Montoya, who was a repeat violent offender who, after he strangled a teenage sex worker to death, was shot to death by her boyfriend in their trailer in 2006. Seemingly eerily close to when the murder stopped, if you ask me. Another suspect was Joseph Blee, who was known as the mid-school rapist for what he did in the 1980s. He had killed a sex worker on Central, and in 2015 he was sentenced to 36 years for his rape cases from the 80s. He is 66 years old and has 28 years left on his sentence. Investigators did believe that the bodies were all buried by the same person or persons, and they did at one time believe that it was done by a serial killer. But there was another angle to consider, and that is the sex ring. New Mexico is a hotspot, along with all of the other states along the Mexico border, for a sex trafficking ring. This particular one operates through the southwestern U.S., with places in Vegas, El Paso, and Denver. Albuquerque was a fun time in the early 2000s. We had fairs and balloon festivals. Central had amazing events every weekend. There were art shows in Old Town. It really is a beautiful place where you can just let a little loose. Unfortunately, with heavy traffic comes a heavy cost, and traffickers know exactly how to work the crowd. So it is a very serious possibility that these women were victims of that circumstance. It has been 13 years since the West Mesa murders, and this is still a cold case. There has not been closure for the victims' families or for their spirits. Crime Stoppers and Albuquerque is still offering a reward for information leading up to the case, and if you have any information, you can contact them at Crime Stopper at 505-843-STOP.